All right, folks, welcome back for another review of the limited series, The Baby, episode 5. We're a little bit late. It's okay, folks. Bear with us. Episode 6 will be available on time. But although we're late, we're still here to talk about it. And it's unfortunate. I mean, life happens. So that's not unfortunate. What's unfortunate is that this is my favorite episode. So thank God I was able to avoid spoilers from folks out there. But I wish we was able to get a little ahead of the curve here. But this is an amazing episode. We both agreed before we got started. And we got things to talk about. So Zero and Nigeria here to do what we do best, whether we're on time, whether we're late, whatever it may be. We're going to talk some The Baby. But yeah, I gave my sentiments. I love this. My favorite episode. Give you a little bit of airtime here. What's your thoughts, instant thoughts of this one?
For sure. Favorite episode so far. I think with the beginning part of the series, well, the whole series so far is like heavy on the mystery, heavy on the comedic elements, but this one was just like straight horror. And of course it hits a little bit harder just because of the state of our country right now, which makes it even scarier. And I know, Nigeria, this is something that we've talked about before in the past, that like real life horror, like Invisible Man and the Sundown Towns and Lovecraft Country, stuff like that.
Yep.
But man, I wasn't expecting it to get as violent as it did. I thought we were just going to get like the simple backstory, but we got a very detailed backstory, which I was very happy about, because now we can relax our brains for a second, because every single episode before this is just like more questions.
Yeah.
Now we're finally starting to get to the answers, and I'm feeling like the stakes are higher than they were before, just because we know now how intense this before was. You know?
Yeah. You're going off, sis. Getting them points, man. Killing it. And yeah, you're right. We're going back in time now. We're getting the history, the backstory of Mrs. Eaves and Helen. As we went back the previous episode where Mrs. Eaves yelled out Helen, we're like, well, who's Helen? Then we had a bunch of theories about Helen, about the origins of the baby. And I still feel very good about it, but I absolutely love that everything that I thought, they just kind of pulled a chair under me and said, no, this is what it is. And I really love the storytelling in this. And you know, I should have stuck to my guns a little bit. I know they're trying to play around with the supernatural element, but yeah, the realistic horror side of this is strong. Very strong, very practical as well too. But yeah, we go back in time where they were just two young girls completely in love. That would be Helen and Mrs. Eaves, who we have a name to, who was one of the biggest things I was looking forward to wanting to discover. But not only do we got a first name, we also understand the origins of her last name in Mrs. Eaves. So yeah, we go back in time and get to meet young Noor and Helen. Helen McGregor, who has a aunt who has a cabin, that she inherited this cabin that her husband Jack, no one knows about. I love it. Off the grid. Listen, this is again the destination Airbnb that I want. You know, it's low key, nice scenic views and quiet. I love it. But yeah, she inherited from her aunt Lizzie Eaves. So there's where that name has come from, who was also lesbian. So the queer representation is strong throughout this entire episode. And I love it because it's very normalized. And although there's danger around it, it's very normalized. I really felt that in terms of representation. I hate things being such a big spectacle of like, oh my God, they're gay. Yeah, this women kissing women. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I really liked how they very normalized it, but also still presented the horrors around it. And just to jump the gun a little bit, in terms of the horrors around it, you immediately see when the cops came looking for Helen, because she was a missing woman's case, which is a normal thing, except for women. Because sometimes when women are not technically missing women, it's deemed as missing women. And you saw that every single person in that house knew the assignment, whether they liked her, whether they thought she was just running around with her husband's rich money and all this other stuff. You know, everybody had the assignment. Women was loading up their urine for weaponry.
Yeah. That
People
was
had
epic, yo.
it was dope. It
like,
was it was damn dope. If your friends ain't going for you like that, they ain't your friends. Like
and
it
they
was
don't even
damn
like
dope.
this girl. They don't even like
Exactly.
this girl. They're like, yo, what is it about white women? They're dangerous. They're gonna get you wrapped up in some sort of situation. And that's exactly what happened. But at the end of the day, it was kind of like, if you go down, we all going down. We all in the same boat. So let's fill up these bottles with piss right now.
Yeah. And you notice they was postured on the door like, hey, if you need to talk to us, then talk, but you're not coming up in here. You know what it is? And I really loved how that was all executed and whatnot. But yeah, going back to the beginning of the episode, yeah, we see we get to meet Helen's husband, Jack, who sort of established that they have like the perfect, what do we call societal relationship.
Yeah,
they got this and that. They had this perfect life together on paper because that's how he sees it. We'll talk about Ellen in a second, but then he's just like, my dad is dying. Do you want to have a baby with me? Answer me. And then he pressures her. I'm calling it how I see it. He said an agreement that actually wasn't an agreement amongst two people. He's like, his mind was already made up, and like, I can read body chemistry, and you're on top of her and she's completely removed from body. And and conceived the baby that night, obviously, but at the same time too, it wasn't something she wanted. It wasn't something she was totally consulted about. He suggested it and then he executed. That's not consulting. Yeah, that's like, I got a plan, I made this plan, I'm gonna do what I want to do. And so like you initially start to establish like, oh, they're happy, everything's good, but read the body language. Even though she was short on words, read the body language, read the room, folks. You can tell. And she conceived the baby, but we know that her mind, her heart, her feelings, her emotions was out of that place because immediately afterwards, she escapes to be with her love in Noor, who is Mrs. Eaves. So work with us. We're going to be calling her one or the other here.
Right. I really like that scene too. Like when she's walking out in the rain and Helen is like absolutely drenched, got her little suitcase, and like the surrounding elements say that like this is bad because it's the middle of the night and she sneaks out of bed and it's like pouring, but she's like smiling. So this is clearly something that she's been, she was honest when she was on the phone, even though it was a little bit coded because you're having dinner with family. This is what she was super excited for. And then in my brain at this moment, I'm like, oh man. It is about to hit the fan. You don't just like end up this happy in a horror. It don't happen. But
and listen, there's a lot of things you can apply here too. First of all, I want to say is I thought it was really cute them talking in code. I've always, like, when you talk about relationship goals, that's always been my thing. And obviously when I was younger, about like talking in code to escape and do things that like your parents wasn't going to allow you to do, and you'd be like, you make up like a fake name, like, hey, what's up, David?
I'll see you at church, man.
Knowing we were trying to hit the mall and do some other stuff, you know what I mean? So I thought that was really cute. But yeah, you mentioned the aesthetic of this show is a horror, but also the aesthetic of this era are you have two lesbian women that are in love. Well, when, and it's really not even accepted much now, but like, especially then, when was that ever going to just be like a dandy thing? You know what I mean? And so like everything about it, even though you can feel the love and energy between the two of them, the realism around it was just like they were definitely doing and wanting to do things as they both verbally kind of said. I didn't realize it would be this complicated, but again, to attest to everything that women has been fighting for, or queer people has been fighting for, period, is that it's always been a fight and it's always been a journey to be in love with somebody just because of the opposite sex and how the societal ramifications around it. And this is just another example of it, of just two women who were in love that, well, it just wasn't easy. We even go to Helen and her job, and she goes back to her job and tries to just work a normal job. And they're just like, hey, this is a family place. So we heard what happened. So I'm thinking to myself like, wait, what? What's the issue? Oh yeah, I know what the issue is. These things aren't accepted. Like, what the hell? You know what I mean? So it's interesting. And then, much to your point, even when they go to, now this is where I want to, what we do best. when we do get to this woman's house where it's obvious that all the women here can express themselves freely, you know, whether it's just the safety net of being around others of your kind, whether it's others of your same ethnicity, whether it's folks of your same sexuality, you know, it didn't matter. Just women were able to express themselves in a safety, in a safe fashion. The biggest thing about this is that this, in the mindset here, and we heard about, like, you know, the sort of like stiff arming that Noor got basically by, you know, classifying her. Why you always pick those type of women, et cetera, et cetera. But let's go forward to the present time. In last episode, is this not much like Barbara's place? The same establishment, kind of triggering, you think? Kind of makes you realize that, like, why she was very reserved when she was like, "What is this place?" Oh yeah, I've been around one of these before. Not good.
That's a good point. That is a good point. But I think the difference between the two is, I mean, the general feel is kind of the same, like the whole like commune, everybody is safe here. I do think that a little bit of the difference is that there's a little bit more correction with the women's house in this episode. I think that because at the end of the day, whatever, I don't know what that character's name, but the Asian woman in the house who had a problem with Noor bringing Helen in because Helen is white and got a little flustered. Also because of the time period, race relations were even more tricky than they are present day. And when you line that up with the other elephant in the room, which is conception and women's rights, consent, etc., right to choice, those are like two huge elephants in the room, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know if this story would have played out the same if Helen was of color, you know? Because something that really stood out to me was when the police came to the house and they're banging on the door, right? And the reason why they're coming to the door is not because there's a missing woman. It's because this woman has something that belongs to me. And now you're getting into this, like, it's property now. It's not even, I'm worried about this woman. It's, you have my property and I want it back.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any other race would go as hard as white folks do for this is my property. You know what I'm saying? Especially, I mean, number one, getting the police involved in general. I don't know if a South Asian person or a Black person or, you know, anyone else would be, you know, let's get the police involved. This woman has my property.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like two red flags that you don't want to stack on top of each other. But I do also understand that just the group of, you know, this is a group dynamic and you should be safe here. And then it turns out she wasn't. Later, years down the line, she finds herself in another commune that's telling her, you're safe here, even though this one is giving off way heavier culty vibes than the House of Queer Women. You know, we're telling you you're safe here. But due to her past experiences, she's like, I don't know if I really am, because I've been in this boat before. So I got those two things going on.
I challenge you as a topic for your podcast here. I want to know, what does safety mean?
Shit.
I don't know. What does safety mean in horror? Because you think about that across the board when you say like, oh, we're safe, but when has that ever actually been the case?
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's a good topic.
Or we can stop running. We're good. We're safe.
Are you though?
You know what I mean? So what does safe mean? I would love to tune in.
Oh, that's a heavy topic. I'm gonna have to bring that one up to my co-host.
Hey, check them out, y'all. Check them out. Yeah, that's a very excellent point. I really love that. Really appreciate that perspective on that. Yeah, I think another thing I just wanted to quickly talk on before we move a little bit forward on the episode is that when Helen and Noor kind of had the conversation when they brought about, hey, you want a family? And that sort of reservation. To me, this tells me just what Exhibit A and Exhibit B, how they're so much more different. One was clearly forced, wasn't consulted. One, and they both were suggested. But you see how one was kind of like, yeah, that's kind of something I wanted to do, you know what I mean, and whatnot. But it wasn't like, oh, we got to do this. And you even see Nor giving or allowing, I'm not even sure if either one of those words are truly appropriate, but Helen was able to make the decision she wanted to make after even the fact of establishing that she was pregnant, you know, because it's easy. And I'm sorry, to my complete ignorance, I'm thinking like, hey, well, y'all want a family, she's pregnant, there you go. But that's not actually the proper way of thinking about this, because it is truly Helen's decision, her body, her choice, to do what she wants to do. And Nor did not position a circumstance or some type of pressure to make her side with what may have been the easy option solution in that. So it was like some really, I'd say, specific writing going on here that I start to educate myself in. Like I quickly saw my mind think one way, then I was like, oh yeah, actually that is actually pretty wrong to think that way. So I love how they were able to establish some really unprogramming of very, I hate to say it, but almost normalized practices in these cases. You know what I mean? So that, you know, that was something, but definitely appreciate that. But yeah, she did say she was pregnant and she had known for a while. The only issue with this is that when she said a while, I was trying to establish, well, what type of time period we're having here, because there's some major questions that we have, which I'll get to in a second. But, you know, I wanted to establish a little bit of time that had lapsed at that point, and she's saying that. But, you know, Nora had asked her, say, I thought you wasn't sleeping with him, but she wasn't mad about it. She just said, I just thought that's what it was. But yes, that also brings back to Exhibit A. She wasn't sleeping with him. So call it however you want to call it, but she wasn't sleeping with him. Just what happened at night was not something that she sat there and said, please give that to me. Body language says
he was sleeping with her. That's it.
Yep. But anyway, Helen had made the decision to go to the clinic, and this is something I don't have much knowledge of in this era, in terms of the decision of saying, hey, I'll pick you up in the morning from the clinic, where she had made the decision to have an abortion. Before we talk about Jack intervening, what knowledge do you have on the practices on this? Because,
well, I do know that abortion was a thing at this time, but I also know, so, you know, it was not completely unheard of. It was, I don't want to say normalized, but like, you know, women went through with it. But another thing that I do know was that privacy, like medical privacy at that time, was not honored. There was like real gray area with that. And so we see the two of them in the office, and I know that Helen decided to go through with the abortion because based on how the police were talking about this baby as property, based on, you know, the fact that this is why the husband is angered, not because of, I mean, clearly he wanted just to show the baby to his father before he lost his father. I get it. Closure, grief, whatever. This is not the way to do it. But anyway, you know, Nora was kind of like, the baby, question mark? Like, what are we going to do? And I knew that Helen knew, I guess, that if she kept that baby, then they're gonna keep coming after her because that's his property, right? And he wants what's his. So that was kind of the only decision that they had. And then we see the two of them in the waiting room, and then the doctor comes outside and calls her name, her full government, right? Her first and last name. And I'm like,
Helen McGregor.
Oh no. Oh fucking no.
Yeah.
And so I kind of knew what was going to happen. I didn't know exactly how it was going to happen, but you know, medical privacy is not honored at that time. And a lot of it's like, you know, you have to have your partner's consent to do these things, which is probably how they found out where she was. You know, it was a different time. It was allowed, but I'm gonna say both parties, but it's really the male party needs to be involved in those kind of decisions. So I was like crossing my fingers. I'm like, damn, why did you give him a fake name? Like something else other than your full government, because that's going to be a huge just indication of where she is, what she's doing. She's planning to get rid of this baby and run. Which is what I want for her, but that's certainly not happening.
And just like our job was able to just say like, hey, everybody knows the news. So like, it's no secret that everybody knows you ran away and whatever type of issues y'all having in the house. I also would say this could be a little bit of a reach, but I also could say that Helen also kind of had the wherewithal to look over at Noor, excuse me, when asked, well, why do you want to have a family? And she said she didn't know why. Why do you want to have a baby? And she said, why you want to have family? And she said she didn't know why. And family is complicated, as we can see by everything that's happening in the household. So maybe it was one of those appropriate things of saying like, well, if you don't know why, then we damn sure don't need to be doing this, which is a big thing from then to now and forever, folks. If you don't know the responsibilities and you're not willing to have the responsibilities, don't be trying to make those type of decisions. So
it's not going to happen if those are the kind of thoughts that are going through. If you can't explain it, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. But I do think that probably the two reasons why Nora said that, like, yes, I think I do want to have a family. One is just to keep her options open because she really loves Helen, and if she does, then you never know. And also, I think, especially at this time, mainly at this time, having a family is like normal, and being a queer woman having a normal relationship at this time is not, it just like doesn't happen.
I was gonna say, what is normal for that then? Like, that's the biggest thing.
Not that. So I guess, if they were to have a family, that would be normal, because most other couples, they fall in love and they get together and they move in together and then they have a family. Like, that's how it goes. So if we were to have a family, then maybe that would make us more normal. But clearly she didn't really. I think it's a desire for normalcy more than anything.
Right. I mean, let's just be honest. That's what a lot of people strive for in any aspect of saying, I want to be normal or included or on the inside. But, you define your normalcy by however the hell you want it to be. That's what I love about this new generation. Everybody's defining what they deemed as being normal. All the folks who have professional tech jobs and in suits wearing tattoos, good for fucking you.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I came up, that wasn't a thing, and it was like, oh, you can't have that and have that. But I love the fact that everybody's like, oh, nah, just like yourself, I want to wear colored hair, damn sure go do it. You know what I mean? Love it. Claim your own normalcy, folks. I'm gonna zip through some of these other things because, folks, we got to get to episode 6 here, and definitely jump over to that review once you're done this one, when it's available that way. But quickly going down the thing. So she said she'll pick her up in the morning from the clinic. And she was going forward with the abortion, but Jack steps in as she was clearly under what do you call it? When you're like put under sleep, whatever it is.
Anesthesia.
But anesthesia. Thank you. Which is a big thing back in the day, by the way. And so like wakes up and he's just like, hey, I'm here to save you. You need saving. Right, exactly. And thus for now, things have shifted from her trying to have an abortion to her being under constant care, constant monitoring, constantly under medication, under a very difficult pregnancy. And she tried to get out of it, but with Jack and her sister being there every other second and the doctor, it just wasn't happening. And I gotta say, from the horror element, seeing the views from inside was something. The graphic nature of that and the sounds were super chilling.
Gross. Gross. And it makes you like scream a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And then you like cut to the outside and she's just like laying in the bed, and like this whole situation is gross. It's like we're hearing gross noises and then being taken back to IRL, which this whole situation is gross. She's being held against her will. She's being forced to have a baby. That's as gross as the noises that we're hearing from inside of her womb right now. The whole thing is gross.
Yeah, yeah, and she's having pain. She was throwing up and all this other stuff, all before all this happening, which were graphic in its own, but this was just next level.
Mm-hmm.
I got a couple of questions I want to get to you at the end, so let me go through a couple of these things really quickly. So once she has the baby, she has no reaction to it. She's like, get him off of me. Complete rejection.
Yeah.
She's already been labeled as a monster from Jack's sister, and it's just like she has lost all her spirit after she's had this baby. We will address that. Then Noor runs into Jack on the streets. Where is she? Give her back to me. He then blames her, says you made her sick. And Mrs. Eaves then, to me, and you can address it, I'm gonna give you the closing of the show, then says, damn you, damn your father, damn it all. Anything that's in there, damn it. and if I knew a little something, that sounds like a curse to me, but I'll just leave it at that. We'll come back to it.
The same thing. The same thing.
They shot it.
I mean, I'm a little bit ignorant when it comes to this kind of stuff, but from an ignorant mind, that sounds like a hex to me.
Yes, that's what it is. A hex curse. That's exactly what it is. And for them to show the baby in the way they did, I'm like, oh. But it'll come back to my big question for you. But yeah, after that though, this is where Helen says she wants to call her sister, talking in code. So cute. I still love this. But wow, I didn't see this coming, because after that, Jack's sister was like, let me run that back. I mean, she definitely tried to hit the star 68 and like, but I love how attentive they made this character in one episode, because you have to think, if you are playing care monitor for somebody who is under psychiatric evaluation and monitoring, because the fact that she will even, it looks like she might have even been willing to commit suicide when she opened that window, whatever it may be. I mean, yes, we'll call it what it is. She's definitely suicidal, because we've seen what happened at the end.
Right.
But the fact that she was able to be there at every moment and do what they had to do, and then was able to dial back that number, I think that's a very true testament to that character. But I did not see that happen in the way she did. Called back, got a quick glimpse of Mrs. Eaves' voice, hung up the phone, and bada boom, she took a sewing needle to the neck. I was like, damn. I loved it. I was like, God, wow. And listen, the baby started laughing.
Yo, yes, I forgot about that. That was the moment. That was like the hex was like awakening before.
And then Jack got on the steps because he came back because he forgot something. I did love that. I loved the whole posturing of Jack out on the bottom of the steps. Thought that was really good. And yeah, so Jack got overbearing, sister got, and the baby's like, hey, come get me, bro. We about here. But she said, listen, not my baby, complete rejection. And then even when she gets back to the cabin with Noor, where's the baby? And the baby's like, I'm here, mama, right here. And Helen saw the baby out of her awakening, and I, for a moment I was like, is she really seeing this, or is it really here? And then she immediately then goes and commits suicide by drowning in the water, in whatever it is in front of her, lake, river, ocean, not river, it's definitely an ocean or a river or something, who knows, but she drowns in front of her, in front of the place. But Noor doesn't know where she is, which is the big thing, because she's looking for it. She doesn't realize that she committed suicide. But she now realizes a couple of things. Well, wait, the baby was here 1 second. She goes outside looking for Helen, and now the baby's gone. So now we start to see why her pursuit of the baby, because she can't find Helen. She doesn't know Helen's dead or committed suicide. She just knows Helen's gone. I also think we can sit here and document that she has a history of mental health issues with the attempts of suicide through the window, possibly. But the biggest thing of this all is something I said in the previous episodes, is that postpartum is a motherfucker.
A killer, if you will.
And that's where you kind of circle around with her and that. And then again, the baby being there one moment, the baby's the closest thing that she has to her. So like that feels like her, I got to do right by this baby as well too. But yeah, the baby's gone. Not to mention the baby's there. And like understanding that like the baby was at one point going to be aborted, but now is here. I mean, that has to kind of weigh on feelings as well too. We also know that she was open to having a family, but this is sort of is her family now. No matter how it got constructed, this is her family or whatever. But yeah, now the baby's gone. So now that put Mrs. Eaves in the situation of saying, where's the baby? Where's Helen? What do I do? The biggest question I have, and anything else you want to add, and this is how we'll wrap up the show, is what would you assess of what made the baby evil and what made the baby stop aging?
I don't know about the baby aging. I don't know. But I think just the nature of this baby was probably a combination of two things. Mainly, this baby is just like born out of just like straight up evil.
Yeah.
Straight up freaking evil. Pressured his wife into conceiving a child without proper consent, kidnapped the wife even though she was happy where she was, forced her to have a baby, really didn't give a fuck about her at the end of the day. So yeah, this baby is just like freaking born out of spite. It's like born out of evil, which is one thing. And then the hex, that Nor, let's just call it a hex. I don't know what it is, but
I'm cool with that.
him to just obliterated. But that was probably like the icing on top, I guess. Since this baby has like such a evil background.
Yeah.
And then the baby watching 3 lives being taken, because you rewound it when we were screening it just now. So the sister, she stabbed the sister in front of the baby. The sister was also pregnant with the baby of her own. You could tell it must have been her second baby because there was a time jump. You could tell when she like pushed her over on the bed and she was pregnant. You could tell. So that's 2. And then pushed the dad down the stairs. That's 3. And then dipped. Was like, all right, take care of yourself. I'm out.
Oh, and then watch her mom commit suicide. So that's 4.
Yeah.
So she lost. The baby lost its entire family.
Right. It was laughing in the process.
Yeah. So. It's kind of like, that's definitely an origin stories of like a super monster villainous something coming down the way.
Legion of Doom, here we come.
Yes, yes, that's exactly it. And then like I think the other thing I'll just add really quickly is that like the abandonment, but also like the lack of proper attachment. I think it's been very much documented that all humans need touch, and the fact that this baby was never ever able to have that type of nourishment from its mother, who was also kind of giving up on life. We know that the baby, when the baby picks his host, they kind of share a bond together, but they never had a bond. And that kind of saw your mom kind of dying in front of you. Like she never ate, she was going frail, and just it's a lot to make there, from the postpartum, from the trauma that she dealt with long before that, and then to just be almost a shell of herself, to the point that she did not want to be a mother. She's now a mother. She has no desire to host this baby. So you're creating,
I'd rather just die. And then the baby's like, all right, bet you don't want to be my mom, then you could just die. Or you don't want to be my mom, then you could just die, and so on and so forth.
But see, that's what I was just about to say. You created generational trauma.
Oh my God, that's an insane generational trauma.
It is though, because it's generational trauma is nothing but a cycle of habits that continue to happen, and that's it. You clearly defined it. I want that person to be my mother. That's why I showed back up. Oh, I don't want to be a mother, so I'm just going to commit suicide. So the baby's like, okay, maybe that's normal. Okay, so I'll pick the next person. Oh, you don't want to be my mother? No problem. I do. I got the recipe for this one. So there's that. Folks, this episode is available now. You go check it out. Jump in the comments. Let us know your thoughts about what we say is a 10 out of 10 on this episode. But it's time for us to take our time to episode 6. So join us there once you're done watching this, and each and every week till we get to the conclusion of this limited series, The Baby, all the way into the finale in episode 8. Thank y'all for tuning in. See y'all in a little. Big old bell.